What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today, it's finally time. It's finally here. NFL playoff predictions. Yes, we are getting right into it. So excited. It's been a crazy year, but let's dive right into it in the Super Wild Card weekend here. We're going to go through the times, which day is first. So let's start it with the Saturday games. The first game of Wild Card weekend, we have the Seattle Seahawks, who just barely sneak into the playoffs. My Seattle Seahawks sneak in after a Lions loss and a Seahawks win over the Rams just barely. And then the 13-4 San Francisco 49ers. This game is being played in Levi's Stadium. It's an NFC West divisional rivalry game. This one should be a good one. I think this is going to be a close game. I'm going to be honest with everyone. If you look at the 49ers, Brock Purdy coming in, I believe he is starting for this one. I don't think he wouldn't. He's been playing good football for San Francisco. It's time for the playoffs now for him, though. I'm not sure how Brock Purdy is going to react to the postseason. The San Francisco 49ers have beat the Seattle Seahawks 2 times already. It is very hard to beat a team 3 times. A team as talented as San Francisco definitely can do it against Seattle, but Seattle, I think, is an underrated team right now. Geno Smith's playing decent football. He has made a couple mistakes here and there, but ultimately, I think that Geno Smith's going to have a good game against San Francisco's defense, even though the O-line. It's going to be a low-scoring game here. I do think that the Seahawks defense has been much better as of late. I think that Seattle comes out with a good game plan here. And guys, guess what? I am going to go with a massive upset here. Brock Purdy, it ultimately comes down to the swing plays in this one, I think. And I think that Brock Purdy is going to make more mistakes in this one than Geno Smith. I think that the Niners, the Seahawks defense has really stepped it up ever since that Thursday night game. Even though Jordan Brooks is out with an ACL tear, but I think that Seattle is going to be ready for this one. I think that they're going to win this one over San Francisco, which would be a massive upset, probably the biggest one. Maybe the Bills-Dolphins would be not as big, but I'm taking it. San Francisco, I mean, the defense is good, but they've been questionable for the past couple of weeks. And I think that, again, like I said, beating a team 3 times is very difficult. I think that Pete Carroll comes up with a really good game plan, and the Seahawks pull off a huge upset on the first game of Wild Card Weekend on Saturday. All right, let's go to the Saturday night football game. We have the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Another really fun matchup to watch out for here. So you look at Jacksonville; they just barely beat Tennessee to clinch a playoffs spot. And then the Chargers are coming off a loss to the Broncos, but they were resting their players. It didn't matter because the Ravens lost anyway. So in this game, I think this is going to be a really good game between these two. Two very young quarterbacks, probably two of the brightest futures in the league. Williams did go down for the Chargers, which is tough for them. But I do think this Chargers offense is going to be able to run the ball. This Jaguars defense has played good. They played good against the Tennessee Titans, so this team's going to be ready. That Jaguars crowd also was very loud in that Titans game, so I don't expect them to take it any less here. Ultimately, though, it comes down to 2 things here in this game, and that is I trust Justin Herbert a little bit more than I do. I trust Justin Herbert a little bit more than I do Trevor Lawrence, and I trust the Chargers defense a little bit more than the Jaguars defense. And I think that's even with the home field advantage. Home field advantage is a big thing. What? Oh, sorry. But I do think that the Chargers are going to have enough to win this one. All right, going down here, we have the next game. Let me see. We have the Dolphins versus the Bills on the first game on Sunday. Should division rivalry game, just like the Seahawks versus the 49ers was, except for the fact that Tua, I don't expect to play. I think he should sit out this game. Dolphins, successful year. You make the playoffs. Sit Tua. Plan to next year. Tyreek Hill also has an ankle injury, so that's tough for the Miami Dolphins. This is going to be a tough one, whether that's Skylar Thompson, Tua, or Teddy Bridgewater. Whoever's starting, it's going to be tough. This Bills defense has been kind of shaky this year, but I think they'll play enough in this one, especially if Tyreek Hill's out. It's going to be a tough one for the Miami Dolphins if he is out. Kind of an iffy game right now to try and predict, but I do think that the Bills are going to have enough in this one to win this one over the Dolphins and to advance on to the divisional round, even if Tua is playing. I think that the Bills are a better team, and Josh Allen will lead his team to a victory. All right, so next NFC game, here we have the Giants. Sorry, guys. We have the Giants playing the Minnesota Vikings. Look at the Giants this season. They are sitting at 9-7-1 right now, just barely sneaking into the playoffs. This should be a very good matchup here. I think this game is going to be a fun one. Last time these two teams played, the Giants just barely lost on a winning field goal from the Minnesota Vikings. So Minnesota, last time they played a meaningful, a good team matchup against the Packers a couple weeks ago, they got manslaughtered. But I'm honestly going to take that as a win for the Vikings. This team can't be invisible coming into the playoffs. They know their flaws. This defense isn't good. I do think that the Giants are going to be able to establish a running game against the Vikings. But I think we'll see a little bit more of some steps from the Vikings defense here, knowing how big the game is and knowing that they need to play a little bit more aggressive against this Giants team because they're going to try and run it. So I think that's what the Vikings are going to do. Hopefully they make some game plan changes. But, yeah, that's an interesting matchup. The Giants defense is a very good defense. The Giants have been a very solid team all year long, except for that losing streak that they went through. But I do trust the Giants. I do trust the Vikings. I do think that Kirk Cousins is going to have enough in this one. And I think that the Vikings are going to win this one barely. But I wouldn't be surprised at all to see a Giants upset on Sunday. All right, let's go over here. We have the Ravens battling it out against the Bengals. So yeah, the Ravens sitting at 10-7. These two teams just met this week, but it's a big difference because Lamar Jackson is expected to play. I'm coming into this expecting Jackson to play, so I'm gonna judge this one if Jackson's playing here. And if you look at the Ravens right now, this team, without Jackson on offense, it's a very bad offense. I personally think definitely it's a bad offense. It just is not good without Lamar Jackson. So Lamar Jackson is literally going to have to carry this Ravens team to a victory. I think that the Ravens are going to come up with a different game plan. Like I said, they just played this team, so they're fresh on their minds. They can adjust. So if Lamar Jackson's hitting on all cylinders, they can move the ball good against the Bengals defense, but just an injured unit on the offense and just kind of a struggling team right now for Baltimore. For the Cincinnati Bengals, this team is looking, with Joe Burrow coming in, just got the win. This offense is looking very good. And then the Bengals defense is kind of iffy, but they're going up against this Ravens defense who, very good defense, but didn't play well against the Bengals last week. So ultimately, I think that the Bengals are the better team here, even if Jackson's playing, which I'm judging it based off of him playing. I think it should be a decently close enough game, but ultimately the Bengals, like I said, are the better team here, and they'll be able to get the win. All right, let's go to a Buccaneers versus a Cowboys matchup. We have the Bucs in this game just barely making the playoffs at 8-9. versus the Cowboys, who have been a struggling team as of late, just a very iffy team. Going up against Tom Brady, who's kind of seeming to catch his stride a little bit, got a break last week. Man, this is an interesting game here for Dallas. The defense has got to be better. You look at the Buccaneers' offense. What are the Cowboys really good at? It's stopping the run. Guess what? The Buccaneers have one of the worst run attacks in the league. So that bodes well for the Cowboys here. But I do think that the Buccaneers offense is going to be able to pass on the Cowboys defense pretty well. The Cowboys secondary is not a very good one. Well, it's a good one, but it's definitely their weakness on the defense. So I think that Tom Brady is going to be able to pick apart this defense here that's been struggling. So it comes down to Dak Prescott on the offense side of the football. The Buccaneers defense has been solid, iffy all year, but now they're starting to seem to get back to work, but playing good. So I am going to go with, I do think that this Buccaneers defense is going to have a good enough game. And then again, like I said, with Justin Herbert versus Trevor Lawrence, which quarterback's going to make the least amount of mistakes? I think this is going to be a close game. Here, I'm going to be honest, 8-9 versus 12-5. It seems like it should be going the Cowboys' way, but I think this is going to be a close game. So I am going to actually say, the difference here. Right now, honestly, I do trust that the Tom Brady more than Dak Prescott, especially in the playoffs. And I'm going to be honest, I've been voting for the Cowboys a lot in the playoffs. Right now, I'm not. And the Buccaneers are somehow, I think, in this game going to be able to win in the divisional round and advance in an upset at home in Tampa Bay. I think it's going to be enough. And the Cowboys, another disappointing season, ends like that. I mean, it would be rough to end that way. All right, so that is the Super Wild Card Weekend. Let's go. We had some big upsets with Seattle, with Tampa Bay, Chargers versus the Jaguars. I mean, that's kind of not really an upset, but yeah, I mean, I think that this is going to be a very unpredictable playoffs. It's going to be tough to see what happens. But let's go. I do believe that the Seattle Seahawks would be the first 7 seed to ever win in a playoff game right there, so that's good for them. But let's advance here. Let's just go from left to right here now that these games aren't set. The Buffalo Bills taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, would this game be a neutral site game? Let me search this up real quick. I believe it's only fair if it would. Actually, no, there would not. So it is at home for Buffalo here. No neutral site game. The AFC Championship, I believe, would be a neutral site game. So that is the difference here. But let's get into it now. Bengals, Bills here. Excellent matchup here. We didn't get to see the full thing, obviously, with Damar Hamlin going down in the cancellation of that game. Also, I would just like to say, I mean, what an effort by the NFL, the whole NFL league, to honor Damar Hamlin last week. That was excellent by the NFL. But moving on, the Bills versus the Bengals here. The offense for the Bengals against this Bills defense, it's going to be a good matchup here. The Bengals offense is very explosive. I think that they're going to be able to move the ball effectively against the Bills defense. But the Bills defense is a decent enough one here. They've been iffy, like I said, but and they have some injuries on that side of the ball. So we're going to see if that's going to be enough for the Bills. But ultimately, I do think that I favor the Bengals on that side of the ball. If we look at the Bills' offense, Josh Allen, I think, is going to ball out in this one. This Bills team was just ready to play the Patriots. I mean, they were ready straight up to fight for Damar Hamlin. I think that this run for them, if they have a big run, it's going to be dedicated to Hamlin here. And I think that the Bills offense is going to have a lot of success against the Bengals defense, which is a good defense, but I don't think it's going to be enough here. So I look at this matchup here between these two teams. I do think that I do have a few factors in this game, and it comes down to a few here. Home field advantage for the Bills is big. That's a big factor. Joe Burrow versus Josh Allen. It's going to be an excellent matchup between those two. Ultimately, I honestly think that Joe Burrow's playing better football this season than Allen. So I think that Joe Burrow might have a better game here. But then when it comes to the defense, I trust the Bengals. Honestly, I trust the Bengals defense over the Bills defense here. Man. So ultimately, I was originally going to pick the Bills in this game, but thinking back on it, man, this is a tough matchup here. I do trust the Bills' offense more than the Bengals. That's another thing. They got a good run game, too. Okay. Ultimately, I am going to take the Bills here. Okay, it's close, though. Some factors, home field advantage. The offense, I do think, is going to move the ball. And then Josh Allen versus Joe Burrow. I think that Josh Allen's going to have a little bit more motivation. This Bills team is going to have a little bit more motivation here. And they're coming off an easier matchup. I think with the Dolphins, especially if Tua's down and Tyreek Hill's down, it's going to be an easier game for the Bengals. It's going to be a tough game. So the Bengals might be a little bit more shaken up. So I'm going to take the Bills. But that one is an either way matchup, a huge divisional game there. Wow. I mean, those two are probably, in my opinion, might be my last power rankings were my top two teams there. So that's pretty darn good matchup. All right, let's go over here, though. We have the Chargers playing the Chiefs here. Another good game here. And like I said, very similar to the Seahawks game, the Chargers and the Chiefs, it's very hard to beat a team two times. So coming into this game, could this be a big-time upset? These two teams battle out against each other very close. So it's going to be, I think, a good game here. So if you look at the Chiefs coming off the bye week, they're playing really excellent football. Just beat the Raiders. The defense for the Chiefs has been taking some steps. Justin Herbert in this game, I think he's going to battle all day long with Austin Eckler in town in the Chargers. And I think this Chargers team's better than what we've seen over the past few weeks for them. So, over the first two games, that's what I meant against the Chiefs. So I do think that the Chargers are stepping it up on defense. I know they have a lot of injuries right now, but the Chargers offense, I think, is going to be able to play well against the Chiefs. I think Justin Herbert's going to be playing a really good game here. And then Patrick Mahomes, he's an excellent quarterback. Don't get me wrong. The Chargers defense, it's going to be tough, but Patrick Mahomes he's been a little bit, I don't know, he hasn't played as like Patrick Mahomes over the past few weeks. So guys, I am going with another huge upset here. I'm taking the Chargers, very similar to the Seahawks. Very tough to beat a team two times in a row, and we've seen it from the past. Teams that come out of the bye week last year, both teams that came out of the bye week lost in their first matchup, in the Packers and the Titans. So I'm going to take the Chargers here in this game. That's crazy. The Packers and the Titans didn't even make the playoffs. Both finished so they both didn't make it. But anyway, Chargers. Justin Herbert's going to be able to lead this team to a victory. The Chargers get a massive win. The defense is looking good. And then the Chiefs, I don't think they'll be able to sweep the Chargers 0-3 this season. So I think that the Chargers win it. All right, going over here, though, we have the Eagles taking on the Seahawks. So 1-7 game here. Eagles coming off the bye week. This would be another massive upset for Seattle if they could pull it off. So in this game, Geno Smith and the Seahawks feeling good, just beating their division rival, shocking the world, and beating San Francisco would be a huge accomplishment. For Seattle, though, the defense, like I said, they've been playing a lot better. It's still an iffy unit. I think that the Seahawks would be pouring their heart and their soul into their last matchup against San Francisco. I think that this team's going to be very tired in this game against Philadelphia, with the Eagles being rested up. That's another factor here for this game that I think you need to take into account. The Eagles' defense, I think, is going to be playing good. This team is the number 1 seed in the NFC. Jalen Hurts is such a good quarterback. I think Brown versus Tariq Woolen going to be an excellent matchup right there to watch out for. Ultimately, though, I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles in this game. I do think that they're the better team. I'm with, like I said, with the Seahawks fighting their butts off against the San Francisco 49ers. I just don't think it's going to be enough in this one to pull off another huge upset. So I'm going to take Philadelphia there. But the Seahawks would be an excellent year if they could get to this point. It's already been an excellent year, but even more if they can get to the divisional round. All right, going over here, though, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Another good matchup, honestly. The Vikings have been kind of an iffy team as of late. They're just, I don't know. They play everyone close, so this team can lose against anyone. The Buccaneers defense is going to play well here against the Vikings, but the Vikings will be able to pass against the Buccaneers, I think. So I do think that the Kirk Cousins, I know there's always the jokes that he struggles in prime time, but I think that the Vikings are going to have a good performance here. And then when you look at the Buccaneers here in this game, if you think about them, they're a good team. Of course, they've been playing decent enough. Tom Brady, it's going to be the Tom Brady show, and he's going to try and pick apart this Vikings defense. The Vikings will not be able to play that prevent defense against Brady. You just cannot do that against him in this game, or else they're going to get shredded. But ultimately, though, Tom Brady's going to be fighting. He's going to be battling. And in this game, I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. No, never mind. I'm taking the Minnesota Vikings. I'm sorry. I can't take the Buccaneers there. I'm going Minnesota. I just think that Minnesota is the better team here. I think they play everyone close. They're ready for the playoffs. And I think that they're going to advance on to the conference championship game. But another one of those games, if we see Tom Brady in the conference championship, that would be crazy. All right. It's time for the conference championship game. So let's start out with the AFC. We have the 5 seed Los Angeles Chargers taking on the 2 seed in the Buffalo Bills. Very, very fun matchup here. Josh Allen versus Justin Herbert, 2 very young quarterbacks, 2 quarterbacks that really want to lead their team to the Super Bowl here. Obviously, the game is being played in Buffalo for this one. So I do think that the Bills are going to have an advantage there. Josh Allen and this Bills offense will be able to move the ball against the Chargers defense. The Chargers defense has been decent enough, so I think that they're going to be able to play a good game. But it won't be enough to slow down Josh Allen too much in this one. And then if you look at the Chargers offense against this Bills defense, Justin Herbert and this team's going to try and run the football against the Bills. But, yeah, I mean, this is going to be a shootout game as you'd expect. And the Chargers are going to have a good game here. But the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen in this offense is just so good. This team is really fracking good. And ultimately, I think that the Bills are going to be enough here in this one to win it. It is, since Chiefs lost, it's not a neutral site game in this scenario, of course. But I think that the Bills are going to have enough to beat the Chargers. All right, to finish it off here for the NFC Conference Championship, we have the Eagles taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Wow, another interesting matchup. These 2 teams played in week 2, I believe, and the Eagles just crushed Minnesota in that game. So we're going to see if they could do it again. What does a team do to beat the Vikings? They run the football. The Giants would have that philosophy against the Vikings, but I don't think it's going to be enough to win it. I think that the the Eagles are going to be able to run the football. And Jalen Hurts is a scrambling quarterback, so I think they're going to be able to take advantage of that. This Vikings defense is not very good at all, but I do think that they have the matchup set for them to advance. So yeah, I think that the Vikings are going to struggle on that side of the ball, and it comes down to Kirk Cousins and the Vikings offense. We've seen him getting a little bit beat up as of late. Beating the Buccaneers, it's going to be tough to do that. And ultimately, though, I just don't think it's going to be enough for the Vikings in this one. The defense for the Eagles is good, and I trust the defense for the Eagles more. Also, home field advantage. Also coming off an easier matchup, I think, with the Seahawks being beat up. I'm going to have to take the Eagles in this one to advance on to the Super Bowl. All right, it's time for the Super Bowl predictions. We have the Bills, we have the Eagles in the Super Bowl. And let's see who can win it. The Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen in this game, going up against a very good Eagles defense and Jalen Hurts, who have had an excellent year, of course. You got to love to see it for the Philadelphia Eagles this season. It's been a very special year for this team. But yeah, if you look at the Eagles offense in this game, they're going to be moving the football against this Bills defense. They're going to try and run it. The Bills run defense has been good, decent enough this year, so I think that they're going to be able to do better than the Vikings definitely did and better than the Seahawks would in this matchup. This is definitely a big step forward for the Eagles in this playoffs. Seahawks and Vikings, good teams, but not great teams, not elite teams. And then the Bills, I think, have had a tough path with the Bengals and the Chargers here. So yeah, I think that Josh Allen is going to be able to throw the football well here in this game against a Eagles defense who's kind of struggled against the air here, kind of been an iffy team there. And then the Bills got to run the football also against the Eagles defense. So yeah, the Super Bowl, it's going to be a great game here if these two match up. Going to be a very fun matchup. But ultimately, I do think that the Bills are a better team than the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles kind of getting injured up here lately. The Bills' defense is a good enough defense to lead them on this run, and I don't think it's going to come short in this one against the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm taking the number 2 seed of the AFC, the Buffalo Bills, to win the championship. So there is my playoff predictions. It's a crazy one this year. It's going to be a fun one, I think, for this game. We'll see who pulls off the wins. This Bills-Bengals game, this could flip everything here. If you pick the Bengals, I think that the Giants could beat the Vikings and advance to the Buccaneers. Who knows what happens there? Obviously, the 49ers, one of the best teams, can beat them. So Chiefs, the matchup against the Bills. So there's a lot of scenarios here, but this is the one that I picked. And I think it's gonna be. It's tough to predict this NFL, especially with the reseeding and stuff. But yeah, this is my bracket. So anyway, guys, thank you all for watching this video today. Hopefully, y'all enjoyed the content. It's so fun to make these predictions. One of my favorite years. Things to make every year when it comes to these videos. But anyway, peace